Welcome back, everyone. It's EvanHusa57 here. We are back on Neverwinter on the Xbox One in Mod 9. And today I have a kind of requested video because I actually made the starting out on PS4 tips and tricks video. So this will be a step-by-step guide to starting out on Neverwinter. And I do want to address a couple of things first. One, PS4 or PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are on the same mod. So this video will help you regardless of which console you're on. If you're on PC, you're about almost 1.5 mods ahead of console. With that being said, this game is complex. So before we get into anything, let's just go ahead and see what the game actually is. And this will hopefully alleviate some of the overwhelmingness that the game has. So Neverwinter is a Dungeons and Dragons type RPG MMO, or basically a role-playing game that's massive multiplayer online. With that being said, the game has a lot of elements to it. A lot of things you may see me mention or go over in this video or other videos you may not have yet reach the level in-game to actually do those specific tasks. If you're stuck on something, just ask. I try and answer any questions that people leave as comments or anything like that. I'll be happy to help you out. So, now that you know the game's complex, I cannot stress enough the importance of choosing the right character for your playstyle. Now, I said this was going to be a step-by-step guide, so I have covered some things in previous videos. Please bear with me, this will be a little bit longer. This is literally going to be pretty much everything you're going to run into day one. So, we just got Neverwinter, theoretically. I've actually had this for quite a long time. I've been playing since day one on Xbox. And we're going to look at making a new character. Now, I covered this in several different videos. This is probably arguably the most important step that you will take in starting this game. You need to pick a race and a class that suits your playstyle. This is not a game where you can just pick, let's say a Sun Elf because Sun Elves look cool. No. Races are better for certain classes. This game does have a PvP element and a PvE element, so you need to decide what you want to do, mainly. Now, also, I'll be using a lot of shorthand or abbreviation in the video, so I will try and explain that. Most of you are probably familiar with some of the basic terminology. PvP is player versus player, PvE is player versus environment. Most of the game, in my opinion, is PvE, or player versus environment. That's where I have more fun. So, you have a bunch of different races that you can select for free. There are also a couple other races that you can purchase if you wish to spend money on the game. I'm doing this as a free player, so I'm not spending money on the game. You can if you would like to. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, at this point I should identify, this game is not pay to win. You can spend money on the game if you wish to. It will make you obtain things faster, but it is not a pay-to-win game because everything that you can get for free working with in-game currency. We'll get into currency later on. So I'm going to make basically the character that I already have. I'm going to make a control wizard. They're my favorite. So I'm going to select Tiefling, which is the demon race, basically. And at this point, you can choose what class you want. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on classes because I've already gone over this, and you can ask any questions that you might want to. So, depending on what class you are and what race you are, you have the ability to re-roll your ability scores. You want to re-roll your ability scores until you can get the highest possible roll that works for your character. So for me, what I want on my wizard is 20 intelligence, 15 charisma. There is another roll that you can get, which is actually 18-18. It's a little bit harder to get, but you can get 18-18 like that for 18 intelligence, 18 charisma. That'll give you a little bit higher crit chance end game, but I like to go with the 20 intelligence, 15 charisma. Personal preference. At this point, you can go ahead and customize your character. I'm not really going to be customizing my character very much, so I want to get right into the game. Your deity affiliation has absolutely no impact on the game. It does not matter which one you pick. Pick whatever one looks cool or whatever one goes with the lore of your character. So I'm going to go with Tempest. Where you start also has no impact on your character. It's just lore. Everything about it is just lore. So pick one that's personal preference. I'm going to go with the Dragon Coast. Then you have the name of your character. We'll just call this guy Guide for the purposes of the video. Confirm. Begin adventure. Level 1.
Look out! Dragon! Move around with the left thumbstick.
Alright, now, I am going through this basic tutorial, which you will see in-game, just to go ahead and provide you with your basic step-by-step guide. So once you have the initial loading screen, you're going to basically start to learn the controls and the mechanics of the game right off the bat. For instance, how to follow a quest line. Pretty simple. Most quests will give you this sparkly line on the ground that will lead you to either a specific area or a specific NPC. In this case, we have an NPC to talk to. Doesn't matter what you choose here, just talk to the NPC. The next quest will appear, and you'll follow the line over to these crates. Now this is showing you that you can search these crates for gear. Walk up to them, interact with them to search, and you will receive 2 starting items. Then the game will tell you which 2 buttons, for instance I'm on Xbox One, so it's left bumper and left on the D-pad, to access your inventory. We'll talk about inventory management a little bit later on. Select an item, and you will have multiple options. Equip, inspect, preview, change appearance, chat link. Don't worry about all of that right now. Just worry about equip. Equip both pieces of gear that you got, and that gives you your starting armor and starting weapon. We'll continue to follow the quest line up here.
Campfires are rest zones where out-of-combat players may heal.
And basically the point of this is teaching you the very basic mechanics of the game. Some things that I had people ask me about, and I don't know, I kind of overlooked just due to the fact that there is a tutorial in place that tells you how to do most of these things. So now we have access to our first combat power, and we're actually going to get into a little bit of combat. These are very low level enemies, and all we have is an at-will power, which is basically one of your triggers.
Increases your arcane damage.
Now, every class will start with different powers. You will basically have a light damage power regardless of what class you play, even if it's a support class, such as a paladin, guardian fighter, or, a cleric. You don't really do a whole lot of damage, and there's not much of a point in fighting these enemies. Just kill the ones that you need to in order to get through. Now this really is basic, but you asked for a step-by-step guide, so that's what you got.
We were lucky. Thank you for it.
Turn to Net Quest, pick up the new quest. By now you should know how to follow a quest line. This is the first quest that gives you a general area, plus a new power, a new at-will, in this case, Ray of Frost. It's a single target power. So as you can see on the mini-map, in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, we have a blue oval on the ground. And on the quest marker, I have a flag next to the little diamond. Thing about that is, this is a area search quest. You have to actually look around the area to find items that are sparkling. Those items you must interact with. In this case, I need to recover arrows. So I'm going to look around the map for little sparkling arrows. There we go. Now we have all the arrows that we need. Next step is to turn them in. Again, no point in really fighting these enemies. They can all be avoided. They don't really aggro on you. Now I must place the arrows. Turn in the quest. Accept the new quest.
They're boiling out of Castle Never and storming the Sleeping Dragon Bridge.
Now we will get our first encounter power.
A chill strike, impaling and freezing an enemy with a shard of ice.
Encounter powers do more damage than at-wills, or have special abilities that at-wills don't. For instance, Chill Strike, basically a one-shot on these little undead soldiers compared to my magic missiles. For this quest, we will need to kill a certain number of undead soldiers. You can view that counter on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, underneath where it says Sleeping Dragon Bridge for the quest. Alrighty, now the number of enemies for the quest have been killed, but I have another enemy that aggroed on me. So we'll just go ahead and get him out of the way.
Hello again. You're looking a good deal fiercer.
Now we have healing potions. And a new quest. The healing potions, when you pick up a potion, immediately go into your potion tray. The item that you can see on the bottom of the screen towards the left-hand side of center. That is basically the D-pad. If I am injured, I can press left on the D-pad and heal myself with one of those healing potions.
To travel to it.
This is a travel gate now. This is basically what you will find in every area of the map. They may look like a different gate, but they do the same thing. Press A or whatever your interact button is, and you can select the destination that you need to go to. Because we're in the tutorial, the only option we have is the Sleeping Dragon Bridge. Once you have arrived at the Sleeping Dragon Bridge, you have a short cutscene that is skippable. Now you learn about your teleport or dash, or basically your movement ability with the left analog stick by clicking it. In the case of the Control Wizard, you teleport. Every class is different though. For a Guardian Fighter, you'll hold up your shield and block. For a Paladin, you'll go into Sanctuary. Things like that. Every class has a different ability. Try and avoid red though. Red areas mean incoming damage.
They just keep coming.
Now, since we are a Control Wizard, we will not be able to pull all of these enemies due to the fact that we are a rather squishy class. So we'll have to actually move around and try to avoid taking damage as much as possible. We are in the tutorial though, so it doesn't really matter. These guys don't do a whole lot of damage. This is not like endgame content where you actually have to really be worried about dying. You can kind of tank most of these enemies. This part of the game is still teaching you about the combat system. It's also starting to teach you about the fact there are different types of enemies. This is not something that is displayed as a tooltip, merely something that you have to look at on the screen. You will see that you have Rotters and Undead Adventurers. The Undead Adventurers, or Undead Soldiers in this case, have armor, they take more damage, and they actually move faster. So the ones you want to target first are the Undead Soldiers. The Rotters are basically trash mobs. See how I can basically walk away from the Rotter, but I can't walk away from the Undead Soldier. That's teaching you that you need to keep an eye on the enemy types that you're fighting, especially late game where there will be multiple enemy types, each with special abilities or special powers. Here's the first one that would be like an elite enemy. not too hard to deal with. You can just honestly stack up damage on her. Make sure that you avoid the red. Now you're going to learn about your basically daily power. Now, they call it a daily power, but you can use it more than once per day. It's basically your ultimate.
We're going to make it.
On Xbox One, to use it, the first one is L. Sorry about that. My console wanted to do something different. Now, I'm going to hold on to my daily for now, and I recommend that you do the same thing. Basically, just annihilate these enemies. There's only a few of them. And then we will have our first boss encounter. Now we have our first boss encounter. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate the trash enemies before going into the room. I'm also going to pick up every item, and we will talk about inventory management in a moment. So we will now use our daily, which does a lot of damage and also knocks this enemy back. You have to make sure that you stay in this room, but do your best to avoid his attacks. Your chill strike, if you are a wizard, will stun the opponent periodically. You can also freeze him.
Press A to pick up loot.
Now, at this point in the tutorial, you will learn about identifying gear. Again, go into your inventory. Let's talk a tiny bit about inventory management at the moment. You only have a few items to start with. You have a treasure item, an identification scroll, and an unidentified item. You also have the fact that the identification scroll and the unidentified item are bound to character. There are 3 classifications of items in Neverwinter: unbound, bound to character, and bound to account. Unbound items you can do whatever you would like with. Bound to character items can only be used on that character they are acquired on, or sold to an NPC vendor for copper. Bound to account items can be transferred to other characters. So, let's get these boots. Click Identify Item on the scroll, go over to the unidentified item, and identify it. Now you can equip those boots if you wish.
Sorry, you...
Alright, we have arrived in Protector's Enclave. Congratulations, you've now completed the tutorial. This is the open world, or the full game, of Neverwinter. This is the town, the first place that you will come to, and the place that you will probably end up spending the majority of your time, as this is where you get most of your quests, and where all the vendors are. I will leave a link in the description below to a video showing the entire map of Protector's Enclave. You're still not technically out of the tutorial yet, and you really won't be until you hit level 70, due to the fact that this game constantly teaches you new things. So let's take a look at what is immediately around us. First of all, we have an icon in the upper right-hand corner of the screen resembling a shield. That's our invocation icon. We don't have access to that yet. We also have an icon resembling a letter, so we need to go to a mailbox and check that. There we go. Cryptic Studios, welcome to Neverwinter. So we'll take that reward. We'll go ahead and open it. It's a chest containing a couple of bound identification scrolls, a bound gift box of dyes. So that's cool. We can now dye our gear different colors, and some small party poppers. Basically just an item for use for fun. Nothing really important. Continuing on, you're going to speak to Sergeant Knox. Sergeant Knox is the main NPC in this game that's going to give you the majority of your quests. So now we pick up our reward for the previous quest that we had. It's a new weapon. We'll talk about gear in a moment. Turn in the quest. Pick up a new quest from him, Rags to Riches. You'll see that we have now earned some copper. We're going to go ahead and do two things at this point.
Off-duty clothing. I'm sure you're going to want to relax and get out of your combat gear at some point.
Hello, Infant. Heard about one.
Now we have fashion items. Fashion items is a specific set of gear that you can wear if you want to, but it looks totally different from your combat gear. In order to access your fashion items, you actually need to pull up the menu, go over to your character sheet, go down to your character, and press whichever button. In the case of Xbox One, it would be X. I believe it's square on PlayStation. I don't know. I don't have a PlayStation, though. And you can switch to your fashion set. Your fashion set is shown here below your main combat gear. Now, you can wear your fashion set and still have your combat gear on, so you will have all of your stats given to you by your combat gear. You'll just be showing your fashion gear. Let's go ahead and sell some of the junk we have in our inventory now. Talk to almost any NPC merchant, go to the store, and go over to the sell category. This is a bit of inventory management. You have certain items that are classified as treasure. They basically have no use other than to be sold for copper, so sell them. You can also sell your old unwanted gear for copper as well. Now, the dye packs you cannot sell, but you can actually dye your gear with it. I'll show you that in a moment. You will also come across two other types of items. You will come across items that are bound, and you'll come across potions. Now, the potions that you come across, you're going to want to use almost immediately, other than your health potions. Health potions you only want to use when you actually need them. Let's dye a piece of gear real quick. Now, you can dye combat gear, and you can dye fashion gear. I'm going to dye my tunic. Change appearance, and select one of the potion bottles that I have. Well, not potions, but dye packs. So I'm going to select green. And apply changes. You'll notice it really did not do much. It barely changed the color at all. So I'm going to go ahead and wear my combat gear and show you change appearance, use green. There we go. Now I have green highlights on my vest. So that's how you use bottles of dye. You can get a bunch of other colors later on in the game. Complete that quest. Now we're going to do one of the main quests, Theft of the Crown. This will be pretty much the only quest that I actually do, or the last quest I should say that I do, in this video, because we'll basically have everything that we need to covered. There'll be a couple of things that I won't be able to show you, so I'll just talk to you about what those are and try and explain them here towards the end of the video. You also have lore. I should mention a little bit about that. If you wish, you can get rid of the lore, or you can see more. Lore will explain the storyline, where you're at, and give you a little bit more information about the game and the history. You can use it if you wish to.
You're the one Sergeant Knox had to investigate. Well, I'm glad you're here.
While we're here, at the end of this dungeon, I'll actually touch on inventory space. Well, you see I have a lot of it, and you actually do get this first bag for free. You'll notice that you have extra bag slots. You get a total of 3 bags in-game for free. The rest you would have to buy. So now we're going to be dealing with a fair number of enemies. Not too many, but a fair number of them. And we're also going to be dealing with dropped goods. That's why I'm completing this quest, so I can show you everything that you need to know. Once you have the basics mastered, it really won't be that hard for you. You'll just be doing other quests, getting higher level gear, and going from there. The basics remain the same, however. So to start with, we're going to pick up everything that's dropped. The reason why we're picking up everything that's dropped is we pretty much need everything. We need better gear whenever that's available, and we also need all the gold and currency that we can get our hands on. There are several different types of currency in this game, and I will be sure to leave a link in the description to the first video that I did explaining the 4 starting currencies of the game. Gold, which is also known as money, astral diamonds, rough astral diamonds, and zen. It's a video I recommend you watch. Here is your first opportunity to actually come in contact with a treasure chest. Treasure chests you can open and usually have okay rewards in them. So in this case we have skill kits. Now, we'll also learn what skill kits do. Skill kits allow you to go up to a skill node and interact with that skill node. Skill nodes will contain different items such as profession supplies, which we'll touch on profession supplies later, rare resources for professions, and if you're very, very lucky, insignias. We'll touch on insignias at the end of this video when we talk about mounts. Oh, he dropped some stuff for us. We got some coins, we got a portable altar, and another lesser identification scroll. Very nice. The portable altars are actually something that will come in handy later on in the game once you unlock the ability to use invocation. Invocation is basically praying to your god, and it only works after you've done the quest once you reach level 11, which is pretty easy to do. Here we have another chest containing a portable altar and another healing potion. We'll go ahead and use the bound healing potion first, therefore I have full health going into this next battle. Here we have a group of mixed enemies, some ranged fighters, some melee fighters, and one special, or you could say like elite, which is the Hexer. We want to deal with him first because, well, he can technically hit the hardest. He also puts those little red circles on the ground, which are damage over time. So we'll go ahead and turn him into a popsicle. That'll buy us a bit of time to kill him. There we go. Collect the item that's been dropped, interact with the NPC. There's also these little sparkly scrolls everywhere. Those are lore. Lore is pretty easy. Not necessarily the most important thing in the game, but it's fun if you want to learn and you actually care about, the storyline and things like that. There's another bonfire, which you can heal at if you wish to. Now we get into a large-scale mob of enemies. So that's where our daily will come in handy, because we can basically kill all of those enemies at one time. Now these are mostly rotters, or your basic zombies. They're really not that difficult to deal with, and they don't hit that hard. So you don't have to be too worried about them. I've really never seen anyone actually die in the tutorial or the first few beginning quests. And they make them super easy so that you don't die and you can actually level up. Since while you're out of the single player tutorial, technically the game still says that, well, we're going to consider this a tutorial because you need to learn other aspects of the game. And that's what happens to you pretty much all the way through 60. Once you hit level 60, then it's just the grind to get to level 70. So here we have this soldier, which is basically an armored skeleton, and he's the first enemy that you encounter with high damage resistance. Since at this point you don't have any armor pen, he takes longer to kill. Armor pen is just short for armor penetration, which is your damage resistance ignored. Now you'll notice this quest is taking a little bit longer due to the fact that I don't have any companion with me, and I'm not on a character that does a ton of damage, because we're only level 4. These quests were never designed to be super quick. They were designed for you to take your time with and be able to learn more about how your character plays and how the game works. Again, we have a perfect opportunity to use our daily. Saving your daily for the right time is something that you should learn and try and master as far as when you want to use it, when you want to save it. So we have a little in-game achievement for killing 50 skeletons. Doesn't really do much but give you a title. Now let's go ahead and freeze that soldier and take down the skeleton. Here we have another nature skill mode. So we'll go ahead and use that. Claim those profession resources. It's a good idea whenever possible to claim your profession resources. Even though you cannot access professions yet, they are a very good thing to go ahead and have on hand. Alright, now we basically have our end boss fight, per se. And that is a cutscene you can actually skip. So for the purposes of the video, I'll skip the first cutscene. I cannot skip the second, because it's basically the intro for the boss. So now you have to deal with this Guardian of the Nine, which is basically the boss. And this is teaching you what the bosses look like. Any boss will have its health bar displayed on the top of the screen. Bosses usually have special move sets, they do more damage, and are usually immune to stuns or other control powers. In the case of this first boss, they made him pretty easy, and they gave you the ability to control him. This way the fight is not as hard. As you can see, he's now a frozen icicle. Having those abilities is nice, but not something that you should rely on due to the fact that most bosses and most elite enemies are immune to control powers. A control power is anything that basically stuns, roots, anything that controls that target.
You're too late! The crown belongs to the Nashers!
There we go. Collect those rewards. Let's collect our final reward for the quest, and then turn it in. We have an adventurer's belt now. Pretty awesome. Equip that. Now we need to exit this area, return to Sergeant Knox, turn in that quest, and then we'll talk a little bit about powers, invocation, and professions. I'll also show you where the mount vendor and companion vendor are. You won't really need to worry about those right off the bat unless you have happened to link your ARC account to where you have a free companion. Now, I'm not going to be playing for hours, so I'm not going to be able to go through and show you literally everything that you could accomplish in one day of playing the game, but we'll give you a general idea of the basics. As you can tell, this game does have a lot of loading screens, and depending upon your internet connection and what area you're trying to load into, some of the loading screens can take a little while, up to about a minute, which can be very annoying. So let's go ahead and turn in this quest. Hopefully we'll reach level 5. As you can see, your XP bar is on the upper left-hand corner of the screen, underneath your green health bar. Underneath that is your buffs and debuffs. Buffs are green, debuffs are red. There we go. Now we have 2 more quests that we can do.
Press the menu button, select powers, and then buy or
Alright, so we're going to learn about powers first. Character sheet, powers. Now we can actually choose to upgrade a power or buy a new power. In this case, I'm going to buy a new power, and that's going to be Conduit of Ice. So we'll upgrade that to level 1, and that's quest complete. Now I have 2 encounter powers. You can have a maximum of 2 at-wills, 3 encounters, and 2 daily powers, with 2 personal powers equipped at all times, once you reach the level to unlock that. Now, in the case of me, I have linked my ARC account with my Xbox Live account, so I have a free companion right here that I can use. So I'll go ahead and claim him. It's a good idea to check in with the rewards vendor because you never know what you might have. Sometimes there's special promo items and things like that. Let's go ahead and touch on Invocation. Invocation, like I mentioned earlier, is the ability to invoke your deity. Once you reach level 11, which is not hard to do, you can either go to Sergeant Knox, or you can come to this lady right here, this NPC, and get the quest. It'll basically be to press, if you're on Xbox, LB and right on the D-pad. As you see, nothing happens. That's because I'm not level 11 and I haven't done the quest. But basically what Invocation does is it allows you to invoke your god, which is a timer cooldown thing, and you earn special rewards for doing so, like bonus experience and rough astral diamonds. This is a perfect opportunity to talk about currency real quick. The first 3 currencies that you will see. Money. Not so much Zen, except I have other characters, so Zen is account bound and can be accessed from any character. And astral diamonds. Money is just used in-game to buy things like mounts, companions, transfer enchantments, and stuff like that. Astral diamonds, if you obtain any of those, you definitely want to hold on to them. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, make sure that you check out my currencies video. It'll greatly help you out. So let's take a look around Protector's Enclave real quick. Pretty big place. Now, in my other video, I did show you the bank. So this is the bank. You can access your shared bank and your personal bank. Your personal bank is only accessible by that character and allows you to put whatever item you wish in there. So say for instance, I'm going to go ahead and put this Lesser Scroll of Identification in there, and I'm going to put this Dungeoneering Kit in my personal bank to save inventory space. If I wish to move the item to another character, I can place it in my shared bank, which is accessible by every character you make. Here we have the companion vendor, which if you go inside this building, there's a couple different ones that you can get. And you will get a quest to do that. Let's touch a little bit on companions. So I have 1 companion already. This is a free companion that I got for linking my ARC account. And you can press bind on it. At this point, you enter a name. We'll call this guy Starter. I don't know why, just because. At that point, the companion disappears from your inventory. Now you need to go to your character sheet, go down to companions, and you will see that you have 1 companion active. To start with, you have 3 active companion slots, 2 more that unlock later on, and then you also have your idle companions, which are companions that you have bound to that character, but are not in use. Let's summon this companion. Now, companions take their own gear. Depending upon what companion you have, and what level they are, they will have different slots for runestones, and they will have different equipment slots. I currently have no equipment that will fit this companion, so we'll move on. Let's go ahead and sell those items that had all my treasure items. Let's get rid of them, because that's part of inventory management. Come over here. Let's sell all of these treasure items. I'll keep the altars because I want to show you what they do. So now I have 2 silver. Now I can actually buy an item like the minor injury kit. I don't need to because I have VIP, but I'll talk about those in a second. An altar is an item that you can lay down almost anywhere that you are out of combat. This will heal you for approximately 150 HP per second, and also allows you to use the invocation ability from anywhere, not just a campfire, once you have it unlocked. This will also remove your revive sickness, something I can't show you at the moment, but basically, we're talking about injuries and revive. In this game, when your HP reaches 0, you can be revived by another player. Usually in the open world, you don't get revived, but in dungeons, you do. So if you get revived, you have a little red skull debuff. That means if you go down to 0 HP again, you die, and you have to respawn. When you die, you obtain an injury. An injury is an item that can only be cured by either standing at a bonfire or by using an injury kit for the appropriate level. So for my character, I would use this bound injury kit, this bound minor injury kit, if I was injured, and that works on characters below level 30. You get that your first few by opening your adventure's reward, and that is a box that you can open at different levels. The first one is 5, the second one is 10. One last vendor to talk about. This is the mount vendor. Now, I believe on PS4 there's a way that you can get a free mount. I think it was for only day 1, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not on PS4. This is generally the first mount that you will get. Either at around level 15, you get a requisition token, which gives you a mount for about, I think, like 6 hours of use. Otherwise, for 5 gold, you can buy a permanent mount that you can use. One last thing to go over, and that's professions. You've seen me pick up those items, but I can't access professions until level 10. It's under your items page, go down to professions, and you'll see you can't do professions until level 10. So basically at level 10 and level 11, you get 2 of the main things in-game, which are your professions and the ability to invoke. So this is basically where I'm going to end, because from here, you just follow the little sparkly line, complete the quest, kill the enemies, pick up the bound gear, and go from there. You pretty much have all the basics that you need. Dye can be saved, but let's say that you don't want dye. Like, I'm never going to use pink dye. An item can be discarded. If you discard an item, it is gone permanently. There's no way to get it back, so do be careful you don't discard an item you actually want. Other than that, I'll leave a few links to different videos on diamonds and currency, gear, building a character, professions, a few things like that. But hopefully this explained the basics of the game, and you have a little bit more of an understanding of what the game is about and what you need to do to start off with. Again, this is an RPG MMO, so this is one of those games that can be very overwhelming if you don't know what you're doing, but you just want to take your time. Take the game literally one step at a time. Make sure that you just go through, level your character. As you're leveling your character, any unidentified gear that you get, or gear that you get from a quest that's better than the current gear that you have, is awesome. Use that. The gear sets don't really come into play until level 60 and then at level 70. I'll make a second video That'll be day 2 or day 3 step-by-step guide. If you wish for me to make that, just go ahead and let me know. That'll be for some more of the end game content and some more of the complicated things like gear sets. I do make a lot of videos that are specific to one certain topic, for instance, professions or the Astral Diamond Exchange, the map of Protector's Enclave, things like that. So if you have a question, take a look at some of my other videos, or feel free to leave a comment. I will be happy to get back to you. Hopefully this helps people out and alleviates some of the confusion that can come with a complex game such as this. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like and give it a share. That greatly helps out with the searchability of videos here on YouTube. Otherwise, I will catch you all next time. Remember to subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.